Hello, and welcome to another video on CIPD Level 5 Made Familiar. In this video, we shall take a look at 5CO01 AC2.1, where you have been asked to explain, supporting your arguments with theories and models that examine organizational and human behavior, why issues have emerged following the takeover of Calmere House by Chaffinch Group. By the end of this lesson, you will know exactly how to approach the assessment criteria following the command verb explain, how to link the issues arising following the takeover of Calmere House by Chaffinch Group to well-known theories and models of organizational culture and human behavior. And finally, how to present your answer to meet all the grading criteria for this AC. With that said, let's dive in. If you've been keeping up with our video series, then you already know the key to successfully tackling any CIPD question is to pay close attention to the command verb. It is easy to get lost when answering these questions, but using the command verb as a compass gets you right back on track. The command verb in AC2.1 asks the learner to explain. While this may seem straightforward, many learners often lose focus and end up giving shallow, descriptive answers rather than explanations. It is important to remember that when a question asks you to explain, you are not being asked to simply describe the main concept. Rather, you should give an account of the reasons behind it, make it clear, interpret it, and justify it by providing reasons for a specific decision or outcome. The main distinction between describing and explaining is that describing simply states the events that took place. For example, the leadership at Calmere House changed from Kirsten's consultative style to Kath's autocratic style. This led to employees feeling disengaged. The company also shifted from a family-oriented culture to a more bureaucratic one. However, when explaining, the accounts go deeper to examine the event's impacts, and in this case, how these occurrences align with key theories and models. For example, the leadership change led to disengagement because Kath's autocratic style removed employee autonomy, directly affecting their motivation and morale. This shift aligns with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where employees' esteem and belonging needs were unmet, leading to dissatisfaction and high turnover. Now that we've got a grasp on the command verb, let's dive into how we can tackle this AC effectively. Before writing, it's crucial to thoroughly analyze the case study to fully grasp the issues at Calmere House post-acquisition by Chaffinch, as this is what your assessor expects you to explain. Now, with the keywords in the question being organizational culture and human behavior, it is important to break down Calmere House issues into these two categories. To do this effectively, we first need to understand what these terms mean in the context of the case. Organizational culture refers to the shared values, beliefs, behaviors, and norms that shape how members of an organization interact and work together. Human behavior involves the actions and responses of individuals, groups, and structures within the organization, and how they adapt to changes and interact with one another. So, focusing solely on culture, some of the changes that occurred at Calmere House after the acquisition included a shift in leadership style from consultative to autocratic, and a shift in culture from family-oriented to profit-driven. This, in turn, led to a shift in behavior, with employees becoming disengaged and the resident satisfaction rate taking a nosedive. However, while you are expected to explain the key issues at Calmere House post-takeover, it is important to note that the question specifically requires you to analyze these issues using relevant theories and models. This raises a central question. How can theories of organizational and human behavior help us understand why these issues emerged? With that in mind, let's dive into the discussion. First, let's talk about organizational culture, focusing on the Charles Handy model. Charles Handy, a renowned management thinker, identified 4 types of organizational culture, each based on a different metaphor or approach to how an organization is structured and how work is carried out. The four cultures are: 1. Power culture, where control is concentrated at the top, with a focus on control and influence. 2. Role culture, where the focus is on rules, procedures, and clearly defined roles and responsibilities. 3. Task culture, where emphasis is placed on teamwork and completing tasks. 4. Person culture, where the individual is the central focus with little structure or hierarchy. Let's take a beat at this point. Before we proceed, note that many learners lose points in this section because they choose a descriptive approach. Take an example of this illustration of how most CIPD learners often present their answer. By breaking the theory into sections, the learner proceeded to explain it, giving relatable examples from Calmere House. Now, note that while you may have met the criteria doing this, it is very risky and likely to land you a low pass or even a fail if you are not so lucky. This type of explanation is often shallow, and you will likely encounter assessors providing feedback like, "Your answer needs more depth." Therefore, to avoid this, the approach should be used only as a preliminary note-taking tool. This will allow you to clearly map the issues at Calmere House after the takeover to the relevant theories. However, when it comes to writing, the components of the theories can be stated briefly or represented using images. Focus most of your word count on clearly explaining the issues at Calmere House, interpreting them through the theory, and providing reasons for the outcome. How the components of the theory appear does not matter as long as the issues in the case study are linked to them. The assessor does not want to see whether or not you understand Handy's theory. They want to see that you can use knowledge from these theories and models to identify organizational issues, their root cause, impacts, and potential solutions, for this is how you would apply it in the real world. Now, let's zoom in on human behavior. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is one of the suggested theories to help you examine the behaviors of individuals and groups at Calmere after the takeover. The theory suggests that people are motivated by a series of needs, from basic physiological needs at the bottom to self-actualization at the top. As previously suggested, use self-explanatory images to save on word count before proceeding to explain the shifts in behavior at Calmere House and how Maslow's theory explains these occurrences. When offering your explanations, it is important to think critically. How was the situation at Calmere House before the acquisition? What transpired after? How has this affected the behavior of groups, employees, and customers within Calmere House? Is this an expected behavior according to Theory X? And why? Now that you have an understanding of each component of your answer and how to present your arguments, let us see how you can present your answer in writing. 1. Start with a brief introduction. This can be a sentence or two defining organizational culture and behavior and why they are important in any organization. With the answer having two main components, breaking your work into subtopics will make it more presentable and easier to read. Therefore, have two subtopics, each discussing culture and behavior separately. So you can have your first subtopic as Explaining Organizational Culture Using Theory X. Start with a brief explanation of the theory. As explained previously in the video, using an image highlighting components of the theory can help you save on word count. After the introduction, you may proceed to present your arguments. In a paragraph or two, present your arguments. Remember to ensure that your arguments focus on explaining the culture shifts at Calmere House using the theory and not explaining the theory using examples from the case study. Once confident with the answer you presented, proceed to the next subtopic. Similarly, start with a brief explanation, include a relevant image, and proceed to make in-depth explanations supporting your arguments with the theory. Note that when highlighting the culture shifts and behavior changes, make sure to look at Calmere's situation before and after the takeover. While it is not a requirement to have a conclusion, leaving your answer at that may seem too abrupt. Therefore, in a sentence or two, make an explanation of what the two theories collectively show about issues occurring at Calmere House after the takeover. This will help make your work more presentable and effectively round off your response. To pass this question is as easy as ABC. A. Apply the command verb explain. Always remember, an explanation is not a simple description of events. You must, however, make plain arguments, interpret and account for your explanations, giving valid reasons that make it clear for others to understand. B. Balance your word count. Set a clear word count for each AC before you begin writing, and ensure you stay within those limits when writing. This will help you manage the overall assignment word count effectively. C. Cite and reference. Always support your arguments with evidence from reputable external sources. Ensure you cite and reference at least 2 credible sources. Be mindful of your in-text citations and ensure to apply the year of publication. If you want to see a full example of a top-scoring answer, check out the link in the description below. If this video helped you understand AC 2.1 more clearly, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with other CIPD learners who may be struggling. Thanks for learning with me, and see you in the next one.